The primary purpose of the book is to break the myth that computers can solve every problem. It achieved it by presenting a lot of examples in which computers cannot reach their creator's level of expectations. The presentation of the examples is done without using advanced mathematics or referring to difficult IT programs. However, it does not lose the precision in the definition of the scientific concepts it deals with. Thus, the reader becomes familiar with deep and difficult concepts of computer science, even if his/her knowledge in this field is elementary. Recommended. As a computer student's manual. If they read it at the initial stage of their studies, they will be prepared for all the fundamental concepts related to their subject. If they read it after completing the core requirements of their curriculum, they will be helped to clarify these concepts. Although the book was published in 2003, the concepts it mentions remain and will remain basic and unchanged, so it can be useful for centuries. Let's see them in detail.
Computers can do amazing things. They fly aircraft and spaceships, and control power stations and hazardous chemical plants. Companies cannot be run without them, and many medical procedures cannot be performed in their absence. They serve lawyers and judges who seek judicial precedents. They help scientists and engineers to perform immensely involved mathematical computations. They route and control millions of simultaneous telephone calls and manage the remarkable movement of internet data in enormous global networks. They execute tasks with great precision, from map reading and typesetting to image processing. The description of an algorithmic problem must include two items: a precise definition of the set of legal inputs, a precise characterization of the required output as a function of the input.
Algorithmic problems have all kinds of inputs: numbers, words, texts, maps, and even other algorithms or programs. Also, there are sorting problems, finding common words, shortest path, and decision problems. Also, there are some hybrid algorithmic problems. We can now phrase or code our algorithms in the language, and they will be unambiguous not only to a human observer, but to the computer too. Once the program is written by the computer, it undergoes a number of computerized transformations, aimed at bringing it down to the bit manipulation level that the computer really understands. At this point, the program, low-level language, can be run, or executed, on a given input. The correctness issue has surfaced recently in all its severity. Around the so-called Y2K problem. At the time of writing, mid-1999, no one knows the extent of the difficulties or catastrophes this will cause. Immense efforts and enormous amounts of money have been put into minimizing its impact. Much worse are logical errors. These do not mean that something is wrong with the program as is, but simply that it doesn't solve the algorithmic problem we had in mind.
Presentation of Tau-Illing problem, covering an area with tiles separated by their diagonals in 4 equal triangles and filling these triangles using 4 colors. Adjacent tiles' sides must be of the same color. Concept related to this problem: Turing machines. Machines that can solve any solvable problem. Presentation of domino snakes problem, similar to tiling problem, but the movements is like playing domino in restricted area. Presentation of halting problem, presentation of an algorithm which it may lead to infinite repetitions. Concept related to this problem: computationally equivalent problems. If an imaginary algorithm solves the one of the 3 listed problems, all 3 can be computable. Presentation of program verification problem, the verification of the correctness of a program. Concept related to this problem: Higley noncomputable problems. If an imaginary algorithm solves the above problem, all 4 problems can be computable. But, if an imaginary algorithm solves the one of the first 3 listed problems, the last problem will remain noncomputable.
Sorting problem in a few words is to repeatedly find the smallest element in the list, output it, and remove it from the list, in preparation for a search for the next smallest one. Below you will see an example of the Tower of Hanoi. NP-complete problems is any of a class of computational problems for which no efficient solution algorithm has been found. For example, the traveling salesman problem, satisfiability problems, and graph covering problems. As you will see below with example of salesman the NP-complete problems, they have no solution. Researchers were pushed in a number of directions, intended to try to alleviate the computing issues of our time. Parallelism can improve things. Many problems can be solved faster, even in order of magnitude terms, if parallelism is allowed. Parallelism, or concurrency, is a fact of life, and the better we understand it, the more we can use it to our advantage. Many of the best parallel algorithms devised cannot be implemented because existing parallel computers are inadequate in some way or another. We still don't have a good enough understanding of what can be algorithmically parallelized to take full advantage of the features those same computers offer. Allows algorithms to toss coins during their execution, yielding random outcomes. Such algorithms are termed probabilistic, or randomized. We can exploit the unpredictability of tossing a coin, making it work for us instead of against us. There are basically two ways to do this. In the first, Las Vegas approach, a correct but inefficient algorithm is constructed, and randomness is used to help expedite its execution with high probability. These algorithms are characterized by being always correct and probably fast. Quantum computing hinges upon quantum mechanics, a remarkable topic in modern physics. The quantum analog of a bit, called a qubit, can be envisioned physically in a number of ways. Quantum computers do not yet exist. Intractability hasn't been beaten yet. Molecular computing lets the computation happen essentially on its own, in a carefully concocted soup of molecules, that play with each other, splitting, joining and merging. Thus, you get billions or trillions of molecules to tackle a hard problem by brute force, setting things up cleverly so that the winning cases can later be isolated and identified. Still, molecular computing can definitely not eliminate non-computability, nor is it expected to do away with the woeful effects of intractability. Cryptography. The problem. Alice wants to send a message to Bob, without Oscar steal the message and read it. Alice encrypts the message M using a key K and send it to Bob. Bob receives the encrypted message M and decode it using the same key K. The key K is sent through a secure channel and it's property of Alice and Bob. Even if Oscar steal the data, he cannot read them because are encrypted and he do not has the key K. RSA, asymmetric cipher. Use of two different keys. Public key, no secrecy. Private key, if stolen everything is lost. Computationally hard, solvable in non-polynomial time. Ideal for passkeys, not large data. RSA is described in the following video.
Let's now take a look at how Alice and Bob can use asymmetric encryption to communicate securely with each other. They start by exchanging their public keys. Bob gives his public key to Alice, and Alice gives her public key to Bob. Now Alice can send her sensitive document again. She takes the document and encrypts it with Bob's public key. She then sends the file to Bob, who uses his private key to unlock the document and read it. Because they use asymmetric encryption, only Bob is able to decrypt the message. Not even Alice can decrypt it because she doesn't have Bob's private key. The strength and security of the asymmetric encryption now relies on Alice and Bob to keep their private keys well protected. If an attacker steals Alice's private key, it can be used to decrypt all messages that are intended for Alice. However, the attacker cannot decrypt messages that were sent by Alice because that requires Bob's private key.
The Turing test.
In 1950 paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, Turing proposed the following game. A human judge has a text conversation with unseen players and evaluates their responses. To pass the test, a computer must be able to replace one of the players without substantially changing the results. In other words, a computer would be considered intelligent if its conversation couldn't be easily distinguished from a human's. Turing predicted that by the year 2000, machines with 100 megabytes of memory would be able to easily pass his test. But he may have jumped the gun. Even though today's computers have far more memory than that, few have succeeded. And those that have done well focused more on finding clever ways to fool judges